it's real. So can you tell me how you feel? Can you tell me how I feel?
What up, guys? Dan Andrews from forthestory.org. Got another trip report for you guys. This one's probably going to be more interesting to a lot of people because there's not too many trip reports on synthetic mescaline, or high purity synthetic mescaline anyway, and I see there's a real shortage of them, so I figured since I've been lucky enough to have one recently, I would give my quick thoughts and kind of my experience with it. A little bit of backstory. I had tried eating San Pedro cactus. I ate 40 grams, which should have been, based on like minimum or average dosages, a very strong trip. It should have been between like 300 and 800 milligrams, so I should have had some effect out of it, and I put it in gel caps, which was incredibly tedious, and I don't recommend it, really, because it ended up being over 100 gel caps in total, which is incredible, and I ate them all within an hour, and not a single thing happened to me. I didn't have nothing, I didn't get any body load sensations or hallucinations or anything like that, which is really disappointing. So I don't know what the deal is with cactus. I don't know if it's personal to me. I don't know if the cactus I got was just very low dose or wasn't even perhaps San Pedro cactus. I'm not sure what happened that way. But, so then I went ahead and just got the synthetic mescaline, which is a white powder, and I did 500 milligrams. That day I took a 250 milligram cap, and then I waited a half an hour for the other 250 milligrams because I had heard that the nausea can be a little bit too intense if you take it all at once, so you space it out a little bit, supposedly helps. I did get a little bit of nausea in the beginning, nothing unbearable, but I was sitting on my couch watching How to Train Your Dragon, which was an amazing movie. Just a lot of empathy for like the dragon characters and the main character, the kid. Was actually very profound. That was actually one of the very cool parts of the trip. Was like I was very connected to this film while I was coming up, and that was a good choice to come up on. And after the movie, I kind of moved about. I started exploring a little bit more on my house, and the visuals were kicking in a little bit more. I was getting breathing. I was getting geometric patterns and swirling on like my pillows and what have you. It wasn't. Now I've heard mescaline is like the most visual, besides like DMT, I suppose. It can be a very visual psychedelic, like to the point where I've heard people describing talking in colors, like they speak and like blue sound waves come out. I didn't get anything like that. I didn't get any rigid hallucinations like that. Mine were all very translucent and normal, like they toying with reality. Walls breathing, geometric patterns, things like that. I didn't get any rigid, like 3D, there's a technical term for it, but I didn't get any of that. But so that was fun, and then I decided I wanted to go swimming because I heard water was very entertaining and could be really cool on mescaline, and I have a pool here. So I went out to the pool and swam. I felt really weird because I was just like swimming alone, kind of. I didn't know if people are watching me, kind of. And as I was swimming, though, it was very cool. I could see as I was swimming, I could see the shadow of my body because the sun was right above me. It was like around noon that I was swimming. And so I could see like the definition of my shoulders in the shadow, almost as though I could see like the striations or what have you. Like it looked like another person, and I was fast because I had goggles on, so I could see very clearly under the water. And I was fascinated by seeing this other person moving with me. I knew it was myself, but it was very interesting seeing it move with me, and the way the sunlight reflected off the water and it shimmered underneath was incredible. And it was very difficult to tell, and that's kind of one of the things I pulled away from mescaline was, are things always this beautiful and I simply don't take the time to notice them? Or is the mescaline making it more beautiful? I guess that's kind of always the paradox on hallucinogens. And so I was very fascinated with the water. Just the way the light played in it was fantastic. And going underwater and holding my breath was super cool. What else? So I finished up swimming. I did that for quite a while. I think I was in the pool maybe an hour. And eventually, I wanted to get out. I didn't put on any sunblock, so I was worried about getting sunburnt and what have you. And then let's see. Then I came back inside. I think I took a shower, dried off. And at a certain point I laid down. I was on my little meditation area here in my living room trying to meditate a little bit, and at a certain point I got a little bit aroused. It kind of came with like a sexual energy, the trip did anyway, I started, fantasizing and what have you. And I do think at some point I masturbated. I believe that happened. I'd have to I can't double check. I do have some videos from that trip. If anybody's curious, feel free to comment if you want to see those. They're kind of long. It'd be like 15 minutes of video. I didn't know if that'd be valuable for this trip report. I'm going to try to keep this relatively brief. But got a little bit sexual. Oh, there was a very cool sensation where I was laying down, like I commonly do, and I was laying on a pillow, and I got this pulsing sensation. And it was like a warm, not orgasmic, but euphoric. It was reminiscent of an orgasm, but it was just like this euphoric pulse, like going through my body, and it was kind of jolting, but it was like really nice. That went on for like 5 minutes maybe. I remember being caught off guard. I never had something quite so physically and like pulsing. That was really interesting. And then after that, I began thinking more like conceptually about like religion and what have you. I just made a legitimate attempt to read the Bible. I began with Genesis or what have you. And I'm obviously, obviously I haven't done a lot of videos of this on my YouTube. I'm obviously very atheist. I've had some rather interesting, it's been an interesting progression. That's a whole other video. But I made a legitimate attempt at reading the Bible, and I kind of was elaborating on how it's very ironic that God tells Adam, and then by deduction Eve, since she's created from his rib in the story, not to eat from the fruit of the tree of knowledge, and that if you do eat from the tree of knowledge, you'll become like God, you'll become like us, and that you will know the power that is God. You will become a God, and you will die afterwards. So I mean, some people knock, like, don't take it too literally or what have you. I generally take things fairly literally. At least I will not allow someone to contort a meaning or to to deduce a meaning that is so far off base from what's actually being written that you couldn't even make that stretch, which I think a lot of times people do. But I do find it very ironic that Adam and Eve end up eating this apple, and two things don't happen. One, they don't seem to gain the knowledge that is God or become a God. And two, they don't die. So God simply lied. He's deceitful. This is very strange coming from an omnipotent creator who's supposedly all-loving, all-powerful, blah, blah, blah. And yet he's also deceitful. That seems like a tremendous paradox to me. It seems like it's not possible. So I actually became totally disinterested after reading that and the hypocrisy of it. So I put down, I'm disinterested in the Bible currently. But I think that's a huge hypocrisy that's so easily overlooked. It's I mentioned this to some of my Christian friends, like, oh, it's a technicality, you're reading too much into it. He didn't mean it literally, it was speaking about mortality, whatever. I think that's a huge cop-out, but nobody wants to be held accountable for the actual writings. So anyways, I went on that whole rant, and then I'd say I was coming down for the rest of it, cool, was still getting visuals, nothing particularly notable or profound afterwards. Until 8 to 10 hours after I had taken it, I got a very bad headache. And I had not read about this in anybody else's trip reports. And I was trying to fall asleep, I believe, at this point. And I got this horrible headache to the point where it was almost like a migraine, which I don't get. I don't get headaches. I don't really get migraines, very rarely. And so that was very uncomfortable. And eventually, thankfully, I caught it early enough, and I took some Tylenol to nip it in the bud before it got really, really bad, and I couldn't, I just lost my shit. But and the Tylenol kicked in right as I was about to, freak out, and I passed out and went to sleep. So that's one thing to note. I get headaches off psilocybin mushrooms as well. So watch out for the headaches if you do ever experiment with mescaline. Have some Tylenol on hand. It wasn't a big deal, but just something that caught me off guard. And that was it. Just to sum up, mescaline's a weird psychedelic. Overall, I describe it to people as it's somewhere between mushrooms and acid. Not as profound as acid. It doesn't have like the profundity to everything. You don't feel like you're figuring out the secrets of the universe or anything, or at least I didn't. And it's not as silly as mushrooms. It was very subtle. It was it was glamorous, or not glamorous, but it was very rewarding. It was weird though. It was halfway between mushrooms and acid, and you got some strong visuals, you had a strong emotional connection, but not the silliness or the profundity of the others. So it's a weird drug. It's kind of in a weird spot of its own. Definitely a relative of the two. You can see why it's in the same class of drugs, but definitely an experience to be had. I think I do prefer LSD over it, and I'm not sure how I feel about mushrooms right now. but something to try. And 500 milligrams is a very strong dose. It was a pretty high dose, so I feel like I got a very strong feeling of what it's like. I do have some more I'll probably do someday. But yeah, there you are. There's another mescaline trip report. Do me a favor, guys. If you like me or you'd like to support me in any way, do check out one of my books. There's links in the area below in the About section. I did just put out my new book, How to Buy Drugs Safely and Anonymously, and if you're watching this video, that might be of great interest to you. So do me a favor and check that out. But otherwise, have a great day, guys. Ugh, excuse me. It's been a while since I did these videos. I got to brush up a little bit. Peace.
How I feel to come and hang around a motherfucker like me. How I feel to come and hang around a motherfucker like me.